Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and thank you for stopping by once again. Well, tonight's going to be a little bit different. I am going to be answering very quickly a variety of questions that have come in, some directly to me. A few came yesterday when Jackie Lang interviewed me at her Facebook page, and her membership sent in some questions that I wasn't able to respond to at the time. I noticed those, so I picked those up too and tossed them in. I don't have a great deal of time tonight, so I don't want to get you spoiled now, okay? But what I'm going to do is I've chosen 10 of these, and I'm just going to go right straight through them. I'll be giving simplistic answers. Some of them don't require any more than that. Others can easily go on for some time, but that's not necessary at this stage of the game. And as we get more and more into the current situation, I'll have a better idea of where to expand. And that, by the way, the current situation is continuing to improve here, and we're more and more open all the time. There are definitely people here looking at properties for purchase or for rental. So that has begun, not huge numbers, but this is where it starts. So that's always a good thing. And it'll change everything as we get into it. We'll just hope and pray that the variants that have popped up here or there, particularly Brazil, Peru, and our neck of the woods, stay right where they are now and die out there as soon as possible for the sake of those people, but don't make it into Panama. We'll just hope for the best and hope for everyone's best health. But we're on the move right at the moment. Now, so what I'm going to do tonight to make sure I get this done, I do enjoy talking, so I'm just going to take those 10. I've got a little alarm timer here, and I'm going to give myself 12 minutes. I'm going to answer those in 10, and if I those 10 questions in the 12 minutes, and if I fail to, then by golly, we'll just have to wait until another time. But that way, I think that's we're not going to do that a lot because most people know fairly quickly in a video whether this really appeals to them or not, or whether it really meets their needs. And then if it does, then they want the detail. So I had, like with the business starting, the last one, much lower readership. I'm not just here to get eyeballs. There's no money involved in this. I just come up here, I talk about things I think would be useful to some of you, from what I hear from you. And sometimes it's a fairly specialized group, and sometimes it's a much broader group. And other times I just don't know. I just come up and I talk about it. We see how people respond. So with that in mind, and I have to get my questions out here. All right, and get my timer set up. It will be loud. You will hear if I don't make it in time. I hope that you're able to catch my words. Remember, if you're not familiar with it already, that the CC in the lower right-hand corner, that's closed caption. If you click on that, it will give you Google's best effort at trying to translate my words into text. And if you haven't been aware of that, it's there, so you can always give it a try. You can add to it. I think they do a pretty good job at this stage, but no guarantees. Okay. Here we go. Let's get it started. And we're off. Panamanian sales tax is at 7%. Are there any indicators that this will change in the near future? No. That's simple. Also add, though, that the 7% there is the lowest rate of the various and sundry taxes, sales tax, value-added tax, goods and services tax. There's all sorts of these taxes that all amount to the same thing. You go in the store, you buy something for $10, you end up spending a lot more. Okay, that's the tax that gets added on. Ours is the lowest in Latin America, and by a substantial margin over the others. And there's no one interested, no talk about that at the moment, and it would be very unpopular. I don't see any reason for it at the moment anyhow. Okay, hi Bob. Is it safe to invest in certificates of deposits, CDs, with Panamanian banks? Well, keep in mind that the banks here are Panamanian, they're Colombian, they're Venezuelan, they're Costa Rican, they're all from a number of different places. We have banks from all over the world, but the ones that deal with things like CDs. All I'd say to you is that you need to do what you would do anywhere, which is look carefully at the CD, whose certificate of deposit is it, who guarantees it, and how stable and trustworthy are they. If it's a much higher rate than you could hope to get, we're talking like 7-8%, be very careful. I just don't like these super high rates because they don't make sense given the CD market in general. But the key point is that maybe they're fine. I don't know. The key is for you to do your due diligence. They normally ask for like 100,000, 250,000 for the big ones that pay the high rates. You're not going to put your money into that unless you've done your due diligence, I certainly hope. If we're talking about something much smaller, the kind that they advertise to the general public, as far as I know, they're okay. And I have no personal experience with them, but they're pretty much CDs as are found in North American banks to the best of my knowledge. I've never heard complaints about them. Those are small ones, okay? You don't mention MetroMatch. Is that still available? MetroMatch is a sort of a program that I set up fundamentally for people coming into Panama who are interested in the metropolitan area, the city and the surrounding area, either for purchases or rentals. And I just have some trusted people that I work with. I have business relationship with them, and it's in the long run. It has nothing to do with us here. But I've worked a lot with them. They're agents, and they are quite capable of providing good assistance, and they're very agreeable to doing that, of course, and it's good for them too. But I trust them, and I also will backstop and try to be helpful to the process too. So if we can be of assistance to you, fine. If not, as I've said many times before, carry on and have a good time and find yourself a good agent, and you're in great shape, and don't worry about it. But we're here. If we can do something for you, I got a couple people coming down with that in mind, and so that's it. Am I invested? Are you? Me. Invested in the Panamanian stock market? No, I'm not. It's very small. There's very little activity. Most of what's sold there are bonds, government and corporate here in Panama. It's just very illiquid. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't know anybody who does, but you're welcome to look at it if you want to. How about electricity and internet outages? This is a general question. I'm often criticized if people say, why don't you talk about the outages all the time? And they get mixed up. They think whatever they read about, they think it was about the city or maybe the whole country. In fact, for instance, in Boquete, they will have outages of electricity from time to time. I'm sure that happens with internet too. They're out in the countryside. A lot of these places are, and they've seen rapid growth, and the system is not quite as far down the road as it is in the city. So they will have that. That's part of the price you pay for the beauty of being out in the countryside, if that's what you want. But in Panama City, no, we don't. And so, no, I'm not hiding that from people. I haven't had any significant outage of either electricity or internet in a very, very long time, and that's good. What about the Chinese? They're another country. They have their embassy here now. Yes, we all know all about the railroad. It was politely declined a couple years ago. They're welcome here. We do not get involved in other people's political debates and problems in any overt way. And we're not here to play games with anyone. We are here for business, and that's the whole key. So are they. We trust, but in any event, no one's losing sleep over that. They're here. They're one more embassy to join the others. Are there condos for under $100,000? Yeah, very hard to find. I don't know. I suppose you could find them. Yes, I'm sure you could, for the matter of fact, but they're very unlikely to be of any interest to you. And even our social housing, which is directed toward the middle class, the rising middle class, and the working class, I mean, they go up to $180,000. So it's that's what you're talking about. Under 100K is very cheap. I don't want to mislead you into thinking. Now, again, you may, in the countryside, and if you're really good with your hands and really want to work on it, I mean, people do wonderful things with very little here. I've seen some expats come in and just, wow, very impressive. But they're rare. There are only a few of them around who are willing to put in that kind of effort, the sweat equity, so to speak, to build something from very little and very inexpensively. But if you can do it, I mean, that's super, but it would not be a normal thing. It's not something I can really assure you won't have any trouble with. You will find it difficult. Owner financing, how does that work? Again, the whole financing thing is not particularly interesting to people here. They want their money, all right? Now, of course, it's a tough time. You figure that maybe they will be willing to finance, or they might, but it's going to require some sort of a legal agreement, a contractual agreement worked out. If you're a foreigner, you can get on a plane, go away, and never come back. I mean, and foreigners have been known to make all sorts of promises, and then, boom, they go away. No one ever hears from them again. Not a popular thing to do. So when someone comes in that position, what they want is someone to simply pay for it and be done with it. But if they're really desperate and you're going to be giving a large enough down payment that you know is non-refundable if you don't complete the payment, point in matter, then they'll consider it. But it's not easy, and you're not going to get as good terms. And it's just a different. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying be careful. Now, some developers who've created their own developments and they're selling, or promoters are selling their own work, they may offer themselves. They may provide financing or through an arrangement with a bank locally. That's been done a lot. I mean, that's a possibility. You can always ask about that. But it's not the key thing. If you come here with ready to pay and to buy straight out, great. If you're here ready to sign a contract for a year, that's the best of all possible things from a rental viewpoint. We do have the new program, Rent to Own, where you pay a higher rent, and portion of that can be used as a payment toward buying the house at a later date if you so choose. This is something that's already done in U.S. and Canada, I'm sure elsewhere too. When I get, the law has just passed, and when I get a reasonably decent description of exactly how it's going to work down here, I will share it with people. So that's a possibility coming down the road. How do you, that's me, make a living? I don't talk about this as a rule, but I'm not the least bit ashamed of it. It's just a completely different activity, and I've always kept it completely separate from this sort of work. But my passion, so to speak, in my late 70s, is to help in the creation of something really good project here that's sensitive to the environment, and especially the human environment, good for the people locally, but also very good for people from all over, including Panama, from a housing viewpoint. I'm talking about residential. Real estate here is in the 20th century. We need to break out of that and get into something different. And we have found the land and so forth, the place and everything else. And I do not own that land. It's a Panamanian family. They're very close friends of mine, and I think the world of them. And that's one big reason, that's really the big reason why I have been working with it, is my friendship with them. It's a long, hard haul. But the point is very simple. It's a huge piece of land. It's got a couple miles of waterfront. It's got all sorts of things. It's gorgeous, gorgeous property. But it's $2.9 million. So you have 240 acres or 97 hectares. That's what happens when you have large pieces like that. And that's the lower price. So because at that level, it never struck me as particularly useful here at this. I've said this is not what people come here for. And I feel uncomfortable in talking about it beyond that, but people ask it, and so I tell them that's what I do, and I hope if the day comes I have something really, truly worthwhile. All my members have known this since day one. I'll bring it to your attention, but in 17 years, that has not happened. So I don't know if it ever will, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to continue to work at it. It is possible to be done, but we're going to have to make a jump into the 21st century here for that to happen. Okay, what is the typical grocery bill for a family of 4 living in Panama? I have no idea. We have no typical families. The typical family from Germany, one from Colombia, one from Japan, one from Panama, one from Colombia, and on and on and on. Some in the rural areas, some in the urban areas. It's so many different things. It's beyond my capacity to respond to. I tell you, your cost of living is going to be based on your decisions, and you can live, and you and your neighbors can live right beside each other in very similar homes, and one of you have a very low cost of living because you really go to the trouble of finding the good prices and the good places to get things, and the other a much higher one because you just buy what you find and find most easily. Now, it's one of those unanswerable questions. Somebody's happy to give you an answer if they think you might end up buying something from them. They can convince you they know everything. Finally, can you manage your own money in an account like Fidelity like we do here? Now, here meant the United States. Fidelity is a family of investment types of investment and even checking accounts. It's a major firm in the United States with millions of people who take advantage of it. My response to you is, why are you closing down the account? Just keep it. A lot of people have these sorts of accounts with brokerage firms and financial institutions in other countries, and go right on and continue to use them. Here, I saw one man try to put that together, cost a fortune because we don't do it normally down here, and the overhead killed him. So it just did not work. So that does it. And I have 32 seconds left. I don't know. What am I going to do? I could sing, but we're not going to do that tonight. I'm very pleased to have had this chance to talk to you. Answer some of those questions quickly. I will be back again soon. Thanks so much for putting up with my rapid-fire delivery tonight.